off the air, as you probably well know, life has been really hitting the fan. I like to say the shift has been hitting the fan. And actually, it's all good shifting. But for the month of February, man, I honestly, since 2018, I hit the ground running. Now, for me, the beginning of the year is actually a work transit, so that's not surprising. But I have to say, with Saturn directing Capricorn, if you know your astrology, I have been just go, go, go constantly. Every minute of my life has been pretty much planned, and every minute of downtime has been sacred. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be getting on a better Friday Live schedule as the spring rolls out and probably as Uranus goes into Taurus, but more on that later. How are you, friends? I hope you're doing super well. It's so nice to be live and in front of my spiritual posse, my tribe. We've had a very powerful Pisces season this year. If you've been watching my Namaste Today, and for those who are just catching me, I do a weekly show called Namaste Today. Comes out usually on the weekend before the week. And I've been talking about this particular karmic season with Pisces. Now, last year in 2017, the Pisces season kind of like cracked the foundation of our spirit in the sense that we started to create a difference between the karma we were born to, which for most people is their suffering and their pain and their struggles and their sacrifice and all these icky words that usually go with karma, and beginning to form the story we really want to live. And I would say 2017 was just about, creating that crack in our spiritual foundation. In 2018, as we move in the sun in Pisces, this crack now separates into the Grand Canyon. So if it's been a difficult 30 days for you, you're not alone. If you've experienced ascension sickness this last 30 days, you're not alone. If it's been more difficult than usual to stay positive and keep the faith, you're not alone. You're the next contestant on Spiritual Evolution. And this weekend, actually, is the weekend where it finally comes to a head. In fact, I would say the first week of Pisces, just to kind of give us a little review here before I talk about what's about to happen. The first week, we had to kind of cut away from our karma. And I don't know about you, but for me, it meant kind of every boogeyman I've ever had coming up and saying, do you still want to be afraid of this? Do you still want to suffer from this? Do you still want to? And of course, when they first come up, because we're all in shell shock and have kind of a PTSD from our karma, when they first come up, the first thought is, not you again. You know what I mean? Like, holy, no, And then I realized, okay, listen to my own astrology, listen to my own advice. It's not it. It's actually an opportunity to say goodbye to this stuff. So the first week, 10 days, the first decan or decan, however you want to pronounce it, of Pisces, it was really much about that karma coming up and us saying, no, I'm not going there anymore. I've had enough. Then the second 10 days, the second decan of Pisces was really kind of like rowing your boat, like that's kind of how karma is. You just keep rowing, and karma feels like you're in the rapids. So you're just like trying to keep from hitting the rocks, trying to keep from flipping the boat over, and just trying to like get to higher ground and kind of slowly rowing our way away from the past and away from old circumstance. I found in the second decan that there was also this period of probably deeper, bigger bad wolves than the first ones. The first ones were like the ones that were kind of always haunting my life. The next one were kind of ones where karmic trends often attached to people, like certain people that bring certain karma, and kind of haunts of relationships that bring karma. And I have to say, in that second 10 days, my attitude was like, look, I've given you my whole life. I'm done. Like, I was ready to separate from certain situations because I am done. I'm tired. I've noticed that certain relationships are based on when I was suffering and not based on when I'm trying to thrive. And so, I think a lot of us started to realize, at least kind of hold the torch to go, hey, if this person doesn't ascend, then I'm going to just keep flying high. Then in this last 10 days, which is where we're in now, we're in the last decan. This was fascinating to me. It was exactly as I predicted. The sun is in conjunction with Chiron, and Chiron is like the healing weaver. That's the way I kind of look at it, like a dream weaver. Chiron is basically reweaving what's possible. giving us a new fabric of what's possible. And I talked about this in my Namaste Today show. A lot of us, because we suffered, I mean, I suffered in my 30s. Okay, like that's how it was, a decade. A lot of us who suffered, you know, and really struggled, you know, for me, I looked at it as a humbling. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not going to go very far. Maybe I'm not going to have an impact on the world. Maybe I just need to be proud of my little group of people and not try so hard. And so I had not given up, but just stopped striving for certain spiritual goals in my life, not personal spiritual goals in the sense of helping the world and helping the community. But in this last 10 days, the universe has said, oh no, now that you have dropped this lower baggage, this lower vibration, now the ceiling is starting to rise. Now I started to see a lot of things come back into my spiritual view that I had basically, I don't want to say given up on, but just stopped thinking about. You know, so I had in this last week a lot of interesting opportunity come in, which were seeds I planted when I was 29, to be honest, and suddenly opportunity for these certain things. And when I say opportunity, I mean spiritual opportunity, because we're in Pisces. And so we are building our faith and we are building our spiritual mission and coming into our spiritual mission. So that leads us to the weekend. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day, if you don't know. And I know, I'll tell you how I know. Here in Denver, one of the things people in Denver like to do is drink. And I was driving down on my way to the studio today, to the dojo, and I literally saw all these tents up, and I'm like, what is there going to be a marathon here? What's going on? Until I realized it was Irish pubs. They're getting ready, right? It's one of those holidays where people drink. And I think it's hilarious about St. Patrick's Day because it happens in Pisces. And if you don't know, one of the common cliches for a Pisces is that they're a creative alcoholic, right? So I think it's funny that Pisces is where we host St. Patrick's Day, but it's much more than St. Patrick's Day. This weekend is the wrap up of our Pisces transit. And on Saturday, we have the new moon. And this new moon is not just a new moon. In my opinion, it's a new destiny. And you might go, that's really heavy, Chris. No, actually, it's really light. It's really light. That's the whole point. The new moon happens around 9 a.m. Eastern in North America, 6 a.m. Pacific. That's when it apexes. So it actually kind of apexes if you're sleeping in. Thank goodness it happens before people start drinking on St. Patty's Day, right? Otherwise, they're going to be affirming. And this new moon, I think, is a very powerful new moon. And what's strange about new moons is they're very powerful. They plant huge, huge intentions into our life, but they actually feel very peaceful. And that's been one of the observations I've had in this last 20 years of doing astrology is the most powerful transits usually feel the most peaceful. In other words, you're going to be sleepy. If you do any kind of new moon ritual, you might sleep through it, okay? Spirit is so subtle, so delicate, so elegant, basically, that when spiritual essence shifts, you got to really pay attention to notice it. But I want to go into a little bit of what this new moon means for everybody so you can prepare and be ready to charge on. Saturday, we have the new moon. Sunday, we have Love Fest. But let's start with the new moon. This new moon is going to be at step 26 Pisces. Now, step 26 is I commit. This is always the step where we commit to something. We always have step 26 in every sign. But step 26 Pisces would be committing to faith. You could also say that you're committing to a spiritual mission. And the glory of step 26 is it is in alignment with how spirit works. It's if it feels right, and if it's the sixth path of least resistance. And that is really what you should use to determine as to whether or not you're making the right commitment. You should feel at peace inside with whatever you're committing to. All right. If you have resistance inside yourself on a feeling level, that's one of your 12 states of awareness that are coming in and saying, I got a problem with this. Now, just because you have resistance doesn't mean that there's really a problem. For instance, if I commit to, letting go of trying to be a superstar, my ego will have resistance to that. Like my ego's like, hey, we want to be a superstar. So just because you have resistance doesn't mean that it's bad. But in a case like that, what you want to do is talk to your ego, go, oh no, we're going to be a superstar in a whole new way, buddy. That's what I said to my ego. Like, I trick it. And so then, boom, I'm on board. So you want to make sure that whatever you're committing to, as far as a spiritual path of destiny, that you bring your feelings to a calm. They all feel very good about it. Then the second element is the 6, which is the path of least resistance, all right? Or what you can open up to, right? So an example of the path of least resistance is, can I give you the lottery? Okay, so you're like, sure, I'll take the lottery. There's no resistance there. Nothing in me says no whatsoever. And not just nothing in me, but also resistance in the outer world. So it's like, if it's going to cause ruckus, if everyone's going to get upset, if you're going to create a lot of, friction in the world, then what Spirit suggests is there's a better way. There's a lighter way. There's a way that will not disrupt people. Now, we are meant to disrupt people at times, but not at step 26, okay? We disrupt at step 4, step 13, and step 22, FYI. So this is not the commitment to disrupt. Now, the interesting thing about this is this new moon conjoins Chiron, and Chiron is actually the comet asteroid that regulates Virgo or reality. So what's interesting to this for this new moon intention is because it's conjoining Chiron, Spirit is literally saying that you're going to make a commitment from your essence, Spirit, all the way through your manifestation of reality, Chiron. So you could say this is an A to Z lightcast intention. And I believe it is. I believe that what we commit to will. Now, Chiron's at step 28, which is I manifest. So basically, this new moon is saying, hey, I'm setting attention at the spiritual level, and I expect this intention to carry all the way out through the physical and manifest into concrete terms. So going back to the beginning of the show, I had said that this is basically 2017 was where we made a crack in our spiritual legacy, and 2018 is where we make a Grand Canyon. And this commitment that you are making here in the next 24 hours is that Grand Canyon. The path of least resistance, what's best for you, should be a completely different spiritual karmic direction than you have had in the past, which means there is no suffering, there is no waiting, and most importantly, joy is in the now. That's the last thing I want to point out. Joy is in the now. No more procrastinated joy, no more layaway joy. Okay, I'm just going to put energy in and one day I'll get there. You have to make a commitment to a path that will bring you joy on Sunday, literally, because that's Love Fest Day. A couple little other aspects I think are fascinating about this new moon. One is that with this new moon, we are also breaking the foundation of a new ego. And that's going to be what I talk about in our next upcoming show, Namaste Today next week. But now that we have a new spiritual essence, the only part of us that might get in the way is that fight or flight ego, that part of us that got us to this point in the first place. So all of us are going to be retiring and putting down an old ego. And Venus will be at step 13 Aries, Mercury at step 14 Aries at the time of the new moon. And what that's basically doing is creating the first seed of an ego makeover. So that's what I was saying. You might get resistance from the old ego, still trying to win the old fight, still trying to win the old game as you are making these new moon intentions. And that's to be expected. And just let that ego know that it's getting laid off and it needs to look for work now. Okay, like its job is done. Actually, in honesty, as far as ego work is concerned, I think the best thing to do is to flatter an ego. So when I talk to my ego, I'm like, you were amazing. You were wonderful. I'm like Donald Trump to it. Like, you're the greatest, the best ego that ever was. I effing love you. I think you're amazing. But I don't need you on stage anymore. Yeah, you did good. Go retire, get fat, and get married. You're fine. You know what I mean? Like, and so I literally have these cuckoo conversations with myself. But I find that, that's what consciousness is. It is conscious awareness. And what therapy is and what light work is us working with this consciousness. One little last thing I want to say before I bring on my guest today, and that is that in this new moon, the next 24 hours, Black Lilith is at step 14, Capricorn, and the North Node is at step 14, Leo. Now, step 14 is an aha moment, when the mind gets it. Black Lilith at 14 says that it's highly likely your mind will have fears about not understanding this new world. Your mind will feel out of power. And I want you to know that means you're on the right path. Literally, if you are changing your spiritual essence, you will be out of your mind, literally. Because the mind that you have programmed up until now was for this old fight or flight victim, et cetera, consciousness. So this is where spiritual ascension can be difficult. When we truly ascend, our mind and ego resist it. And a lot of my clients tell me, hey, it's resisting. And I say, good. If it's resisting, that means you are ascending out of the old patterns. But you do have to have kind of a spiritual maturity about you to kind of nurture and coach yourself through the transition, knowing that you're out of your mind, knowing that you're out of your power and control, which is ego, and knowing with faith that you're going to make it to a good destination. Jupiter will be retrograde in this new moon, which basically means, and it's at 23 degrees Scorpio, which basically means that the universe is saying to you, we have taught you for the last 6 months where the boundaries need to be. So now you must go practice them. So all I'm saying is, this is not a time to go back on a boundary that you learned. This is not a time to touch a hot stove again. All right. Because if you do, you will get burned. And with Jupiter retrograde, we're going to be learning and filling in the gaps of all of our boundary lessons. So I think this is not just a new moon. I think this is a new destiny. I say, look for changes on the inside, not on the outside, because you won't really see the effects, the full effects of this new moon until the sun goes into Virgo reality. All right. So the change will be within. You will feel the change within, and you will slowly see evidence of this spiritual change as we play out through the year. And then on Sunday, it is Love Fest Day, the most loving day of the month. But I'll actually be talking about Love Fest Day at the end of this show. But before that, I want to bring on a very special guest. This is a woman that I have been working with for centuries. Her name is Julie Day, and she is the founder of Practical Mystics. Welcome, Julie! That's my Oprah. Hello. Everyone look under your chair. I have snuck in your house and put in tickets. How are you, sweetie?
Hi, I'm good. Oh my gosh. First of all, everyone, whenever I get on the camera with Christopher or on the phone with Christopher, it's hard for me not to scream. And I'm sure that I'm like preaching to the choir here. I just want to like go, hi!
She does, but that's why I love Julie. It's always with fanfare. I always get excited. I was telling Troy off camera, I was like, I'm so glad I talked to Julie before the show because now I'm ready.
Aw.
You know what I mean? Like it cheered me up.
Oh, that's so sweet.
You're a beautiful sunshine. Are you Irish, by the way, with that beautiful orange-red hair? I was just wondering.
I'm sure I have. This right here is not my hair of birth, my hair color of birth.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's actually much more strawberry blonde.
Wow, you look so good with that color.
Thanks.
Leo Maine.
And, yeah, I'm sure I do have some Irish in me, but the majority of me is Scandinavian. Yeah.
Wow.
Vikings. I think this is Native American, but that's all. Okay, never mind. We don't do that anymore. It's not PC anymore. Okay.
It's not PC. Yeah.
So anyways, everything that you were saying, Christopher, I'm sitting over here just nodding and oh my goshing, and it's just so right on for everything that I've been experiencing. And for all the sessions that I've been having lately, everybody's been saying very similar stuff. It's the last review of these really old karmic patterns. Or, our hope is that it's the last review. It certainly feels like we've been around the block 1,000 times. It's time to go down a new block. But yeah, so it was really good to hear all of that.
Did you have a tour of scary monsters from the closet come by in the beginning of Pisces?
The beginning of Pisces, I can't remember, but I had something this week.
Okay.
I had something on Tuesday, that just knocked the wind out of me. And I'm someone that's very sunshiny and positive just naturally, and I don't have to work too hard at feeling above water. Like even if, I'm having to dog paddle and strong surf, I can at least keep my head above water. And boy, just under the waves I went all Tuesday, and I did all my best practices, went out in nature and got my body moving and talked to people that I love and adore. And it didn't move until the end of the day, but I was noticing that and because I had been a good girl and watched my Namaste Today on Monday, I knew that it was all this this old karmic stuff, and it was just very easy to identify. Oh, there you are, oh yes, I know you. Yes, we've been traveling together for a long time, and it is time for you to get out of the car. Why aren't you out of the car?
That's a very good point. I've noticed with practitioners like yourself, spiritual practitioners, that quite often, because there's such this habit of staying above water and just, working through your stuff, that a lot of times when we clear karma, it's not to that last minute. It's almost like a spirit, and then it's like this quick hatchet, quick surgery, and you're out with meds, right? Yeah. Tuesday was intense, and Wednesday was too. The beginning of Wednesday for me, that was just like, I guess accepting, what is and what is past.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have been together forever. People don't know. Julie used to have the last name Zipper, and now she's a Day. And back in the Julie day, she did a show on my first network called Soul Garden, which was meditation vibration.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of my viewers actually recognize you, and there's probably little signs in the audience picketing for Julie. But some people don't know. Julie is like, I have to say, Julie, honestly, you're one of the people I respect the most in this work. Aww. Always have, yeah. And I realized later that you're a step 11 Leo, so I think that's part of it, because 11 is integrity. And I have to say, working with Julie always had this feeling of kind of like the Sunday school teacher, not in a bad way, but just that like I didn't want to mess up. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to disappoint her. Aww. But a lot of people don't know about where you come from spiritually. How did you get to this place you are now, to being a light worker?
Well, I was always very, I grew up in born-again Christian religion and communities.
Wow.
But there was a lot of love. It wasn't the experience that some people have where they just can't wait to get out. It was a lot of love and the true heart of Christianity. So I just always had a love for things of spirit. And I was woo-woo and mystical, and I found astrology pretty early in my teens, followed astrology, loved tarot, all these sorts of things. But it wasn't until my Saturn return hit that the rubber hit the road. And I entered into this dark night of the soul where I was an actress at the time. And I was working. I was succeeding at a craft that like only 5% of actors, I think, make a living from what they were doing. And I just hit this deep, dark depression and, judging myself. Why am I not grateful? Why can't I be grateful for what I have? And I was in it for a while. And then I had this impulse to meditate, even though I had tried meditation before and it had never worked. It had never worked for me.
Right.
And I just decided to show up and to commit, which is I have a Capricorn North Node. So that's one of my great learning edges, is to show up regularly, consistently. And 2 weeks in, I had this ginormous mystical experience. Wow. Talk about oneness fest. It was just this absolute dissolving of the personal self and being absorbed into that oneness field, or waking up to the oneness field. And it was so peaceful and joyful. It was kind of all the things all at once. And then like this little ticker tape ran across my head, and it said, "Oh my gosh, this is meditation."
Right.
And then it all stopped. But that was my goalpost. You know, I now knew what I wanted to learn more about, and what it was that I really was seeking in my life. And soon after that, I found the Agape International Spiritual Center in LA. A
Yeah.
wonderful place. Look it up if you're interested, people. I went through their practitioner program, which was like a 4-year journey for me. And I just got really deep into all these spiritual tools and technologies and principles of the universe. And I just was in love, you know. I wanted nothing more than to meditate and to be in these mystical practices and to help other people find them themselves. And so that's how I got to my spiritual awakening and my spiritual path.
Oh, it's amazing. That was really quick and awesome. And by the way, you can actually catch Julie in like Starbucks commercials on YouTube. I'm just saying, like, she really did make it, which says a lot about you, actually.
That's hilarious.
So meditation, is that like your go-to? Is that what, is how you log in? How would you describe your practice, your own personal practice now?
Well, I think that meditation was for a very long time. And I mean, I was, the person that did it every day. And if I didn't do it, I didn't feel good. And I love long, deep meditations and all that good stuff. And then I started to learn these other techniques of connecting with my team and working with my angels and connecting to my higher self, and the tool or technology of visioning or affirmative prayer. And it's kind of like children, like each one, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you, you're my favorite. And then no, I love you, you're my favorite. So to me, it's all a playground. And I love, I even love astrology. So your question was like, what's my practice? And now,
yeah.
So Jamie Walrab, I don't know if you caught Jamie's video the other day, and we'll talk more about where this video lives later. But this dude that's amazing with masculine embodiment work encouraged us all to take on a ritual over something that felt more like a routine. So what I've been doing this, and I loved it. And I realized that some of my spiritual practice had become very blah and routine and just, robotic. So what I've started to do in the last 10 days is I wake up and I do movement. I dance. I get in my body. I let my body move. Dancing feels like a living prayer to me. So I'll call people in. I'll make intentions and affirmations and be grateful or be, prayerful and really seeking to align with something. And then some days I sit in prayer and meditation. And some days I don't. Some days I just go right on to my day. So I just listen. And I think, I'd be curious to know what your spiritual practice is, because I think when you reach a certain point, it's like life is my spiritual practice, just being present with my partner and really listening to him, being present with my clients, being outside. I mean, like right now, my window is right here. And there was this red cardinal that was sitting right there. And, just taking in the messages and the medicine from nature. And, life is a spiritual practice. I completely agree. And you just spoke to me. You're about to say my favorite sentence and you backed off of it. I don't know why. You said I agree, but what you were going to say is you are
right. Leo, your favorite sentence, you are right. Would you like to hear it again? No, I'm
That's
kidding.
my little joke.
No, but you're right. That's hilarious. I agree. I mean, it's funny. I mean, this is one of the many reasons I love you. We were born the same year. I won't say what year it was, but it was fabulous. We got rid of Nixon that year. And I myself have kind of gone to I was the same way. It was like ritual practice. I had a regimen of chanting. I had a regimen of doing a little meditation. And if I didn't do it, I felt like I let myself down that day,
Yeah.
But then as life became more busy, and I've been reading Eckhart Tolle. I talked about that on your show. It's like, I'm learning about the power of now, and I'm realizing like spirituality is not some practice over here. It's something that we must practice in every moment, that we can. So now I'm like you. if I take a moment outside in nature and notice that an animal is like checking me out, like I've had butterflies and all sorts of like, I've had a lot of hummingbirds just be like, what's up? Like just hanging, which I'm just like, hey, buddy. Like, I look at that as total God, but those become my spiritual moments. But, a lot of times I'm also like a multitasker. So I'll go to the gym and I'll like put on the chanting music and be like in my body and like working my spirit and my body at the same time, trying to get two birds with one stone. So yeah. And I agree. It sounds a little, wonky, but life is a spiritual practice. You said it. I mean, and so you look for it every moment. Speaking, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you.
I was going to say, and this is one of the things that I'm sure was going to come out soon. So much emphasis is placed on spiritual practices, spiritual teachings, and the bulk of the work is really not the awakening. I think that the awakening, it literally is like just having a flash of insight or remembering or reading something and making a connection. It's the embodiment that takes all of your 30s, to really let yourself be human. And like all the spiritual practice that you do is to prepare you to actually love the human incarnation that you're in and to be compassionate with yourself. And that I find is a huge practice in and of itself, just showing up for the human ride with a little bit of laughter and a lot of compassion. And that to me feels like the masterwork.
I agree completely. You are right. I agree. I think the master, she's got the colorful xylophone. I love it. So, I agree. That's the master path. I would say that that's been my focus of my journey, is just like trying to show up and be present and bring my whole self to the table and let my worries behind. And I'm completely with you. Now, what about, I'm curious, how you view, we won't go too long, and then I want to talk about what you're doing. But how do you see society today, as far as where the disconnect is with spirit? Having been on this whole journey yourself from starving actress, well, never starving, but from actress to practitioner, how do you view where we are?
Well, for me, it feels like a really exciting time. And actually, the thing that jumps out the most astrologically, and I don't even know, maybe you can speak to this, is there something that we look to that proves we've moved from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius?
Well, yeah, it would be, we're not there technically yet, but you could say we're in orb, right?
Yeah.
So we're in the gravitational pull now, the age of Aquarius, which means, in my opinion, that we have to graduate Pisces. And speaking to, just like we said earlier, like when it comes to that master path, you tend to wait to the last minute. You know what I mean?
What's happening now?
Yeah. And so there's like a rubber band effect, but yeah.
Well, a lot of what I'm seeing, like on the street level, is people just not remembering who they are, being disconnected even from their heart center. So put spirituality aside and the more cosmic, divine stuff, just totally disconnected from loving themselves, from listening to themselves, from honoring themselves. And I think there's this Judeo-Christian hangover that says to be spiritual is to do all of that for another person, but to exclude yourself.
Bravo. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Praise.
So I think that that's the turning point with kind of the street level of humanity, is recognizing that loving yourself is essential. You can only love another to the degree that you love yourself. You can only hold space for another to the degree that you hold space for yourself. So kind of reversing that psychology that's been implanted in us for 2,000 years.
Brilliant. Yes.
Yeah. And by the way, I think that that's such a distorted teaching of Jesus. # Jesus was a Pisces, right?
Right.
you know, the kingdom of heaven is within. You know, that's straight from Jesus Christ, according to the Bible. So, you know, when did we all place the kingdom of heaven in someone else and forget that it resides within ourselves?
Brilliant.
But what I'm seeing on kind of the spiritual scene
Yeah.
is that move from Pisces to Aquarius, like the age of the guru, of the single teacher that has all the answers and that has arrived.
Yeah.
It's so done.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen a couple of teachers lately that I have had respect for being taken down in really, intense ways. Why? Yeah. Because they were too aligned with the guru path. And I believe that the path that is emerging now is the Aquarian path. We're all in this together. If you've got a human body, you've got a human curriculum, or else you wouldn't be here. So let's all join hands on an equal platform and learn from each other and grow from each other. And that's exciting. And I think it goes hand in hand with people getting into their heart centers and learning to love themselves. Because what gets in the way is your idea that somehow you're less than other people, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we all kind of start to see that there is no less than, greater than, it's just different recipes of the divine, then perhaps we can love ourselves more in our own unique recipe, and then we can learn from each other.
100%. Man, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. And I think, just to add, do your sounds. That's good. That's part of what Julie does in her shows. She has the xylophone, and I love it. And I'd copy it if you didn't already do it. I think it's so beautiful. And the only thing I'll add to that is I think in the age of Pisces, separation became this huge theme. Pisces is a fish swimming both ways. It's kind of a yin yang thing, but like people took yin or yang, never both. And everyone was saying my yang is better than your yin. And and I would say, so as far as the completion of the Pisces thinking is, if you want to stay in Pisces, is we are yin yang, we are both, we are everything inside. That means I am one with myself. That means I'm one with you. And I think that realization of oneness versus separation is kind of the strategic milestone to Aquarius thinking, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that the oneness thing can at times get distorted. And I know I traveled this path for a while. That oneness consciousness means that I have transcended my human bullshit, that I have transcended my ego. I've annihilated it, and I am now one with the divine. And there is a chapter of our spiritual journey that definitely involves us just swimming in that direction so wholeheartedly.
Right.
And the oneness is the beauty and the shit, the masculine and the feminine, the human and the spiritual, the divine. It's both together. And I think that that's what's happening in spirituality now with this death of the guru. We're being inclusive of our human instead of trying to ascend it and get it out of the way or triumph over it.
That's a brilliant point. And I think trying to ascend it is really separation in disguise again. You know what I mean? Versus I think the new oneness is, hey, I thought I was supposed to be a guru, but now I realize I'm just an average guy. You know what I mean? Like, so you include, and that's literally my journey, but just following the programming. But yeah, accepting, that's kind of like tonsils. It's like God gave us an ego for a reason. There's a reason for it. Yeah. Completely denouncing it and calling it as not natural when we were born with it is not oneness. It's a separatist perspective.
And I think, Christopher, you do such a good job at that. I mean, you show up with your horoscopes and you're always sharing a little bit of your journey, whether it's the light or the shadow. You're willing to expose it all and to be vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability is the new superpower. It's the new it's the new superpower. There's no other way to say it. And so I so appreciate that about your shows. And that's why I think it connects with so many people.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you, Spirit brought me to my knees. It was something I discovered, not thought of.
Me too.
I'm not going to lie, people. I'm in pain. You know what I mean? Like, just because I can't act, I can only be, and I totally show on my face what's going on. So let's talk about your amazing project, Practical Mystics TV. First of all, what is a practical mystic? I got to ask that first. Like, what does that mean? I love it, but I want to know.
Well, I think you're a practical mystic. You know, I see it from two angles. One is it's someone that is inclusive of the human, right? So your spiritual path is inclusive. You spend just as much time honoring, learning from, leaning into the human as you do your spiritual, divine, cosmic self.
That's
Both
the
are
practical. That would be the practical.
yeah, it's like it's heaven and earth. It's Virgo and
Ah,
walking together. But
imagine
then,
that.
yeah, but then also so many times we have these great awakenings. And I'll tell you one of my personal ones, which is, like knowing absolutely that you are one with the abundance of the universe. Like you just know it. You just have this experience. Oh my gosh, there's so much abundance. I live in a field of infinite abundance. Why can't I pay my rent?
Yeah.
Why, am I continually challenged with the physical dollar bills or the actual money? And I believe that we're here to thrive. We're here to have a human experience that is enjoyable. And so bringing that consciousness to the streets, bringing it to our pocketbooks, to our relationships, to our health, and our wellness is essential. Because
Yes.
we're not here to be the monk on top of the mountain or live in the cave. We're here to have a human experience.
100%. And I didn't realize that. That's wonderful. And that wonderful explanation, just because I was saying, it's like, we're not going to go through a spiritual transformation unless we can be mystical at the bank and we can be mystical taking a dump. You know what I mean? Like, we got to bring it. It can't be this separatist thing. I never thought of it that way. I'd always thought it was like making mystical practical. But now I see the reverse too, making the practical mystical. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And tell everyone what this enterprise is.
Right. So we just started this. I've been working with the teachers, and Christopher's one of them in the room, and I'm so honored to have you on our team. It's just like
Thank you.
cake.
I was honored to be asked. Thank you.
We started working with the team back in November, but we just aired in February. We started going, and it's a private membership room. We're called Practical Mystics TV. You can find us at practicalmystics.tv if you want all the info written down. And what it is that it's a team of teachers, and we provide daily conscious content that is equal parts practical and mystical. So it's the human and the spirit together, the holiness of the humanness, but also cosmic universal principles and law and exploration and mystical practices and processes. And I'm so excited about it because it's like every day there's a video in the room and one of these teachers is teaching an amazing offering. So like Christopher comes in, we have his Namaste today in the show, but then also we're going to do a new moon party once a month. We've got myself. I do a Tuesday prayer trip. I speak affirmative prayer and help us get in touch with our team in the unseen and remember truth.
Let me just say 1 second. Julie and affirmative prayer gives you goosebumps.
Aww.
You could have been a minister. You are basically reinvented, but I just want to point that out to everyone. It's one of your greatest talents. There's just something about Julie that pulls you in.
Aww.
Versus like when I used to go to church and it was like the priest was knocking on my head.
Yeah.
For Julie, it's like I could be asleep and all of a sudden I'm pulled into it. But go ahead. So you do prayer, guided prayer.
I had a reading with this amazing astrologer in December who helped me get really affirmed in putting that forward. I was planning to do more prayer with people. I'm a spiritual counselor, by the way. That's what I've been doing in private sessions. And I pray with my clients at the beginning and end of sessions. And I was like, I want to start doing prayer more. I want to start putting that out there more. And then I had this fabulous reading with Christopher, and it just was everything affirmative on that path. And I've just been really loving it. So,
and Julie practices what she preaches. When we get on the phone call for the Practical Mystics team, she opens it with prayer. We go in, and and you feel like you should be good. Like you work. It's like, well, no, but you know what I mean? It's just like you just get this feeling to bow the head, but that's for her team. And that's one of the things I love about you. Julie is not like just this on camera. This is Julie. This is how she lives her life and runs her team. And the other thing I'll say, and then I'll let you go back to your mystics, is I know people knew me at Soul Garden TV, but everyone needs to know that all the people that joined me on Soul Garden TV, Julie found. I did not find that team. Everyone needs to know that. I was just lucky to find Julie, who then found all these amazing mystics. And you guys probably know from watching on the internet, there's like 1% who really knows their shift and 99% that want to, wish they could and act like they could. So finding authentic, practical mystics is a talent and one that Julie naturally has. So
yeah,
well worth it.
That's always been kind of a secret woo power of mine. And I just meet them in the most random of places. And there's a recognition right off the bat, like, wow, that person.
Where's your Jupiter? I don't remember. It's in Aquarius.
Fourth house though.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's fortune in family. So I think you just draw in the right family, and that would be a good way to describe it, because anything Julie works on feels like a family.
And I do think that the Aquarius degree nets to a 7, because I think I remember you saying something about that in the reading, having to do with the spiritual family and the spiritual tribe.
Spiritual family, spiritual tribe. So I interrupted you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So we've got astrology, we've got affirmative prayer, we've got my amazing wizardly partner Marco explores like universal principles and something that he calls superstructure, which is the belief matrix that you live in. We've got another practitioner that does a show called Love Your Human or Loving Your Human, that helps you really to kind of Brene Brown yourself, and like really have compassion for yourself. And the list goes on and on. We have content every single day. So we've got everything from total woo-woo to totally practical. We just had a money mindset repatterning session to help someone with their money mindset. So we're really keen on all the pies, all the pie. What am I trying to say?
All modalities.
Thank you.
All the modalities. Yeah. And that's the awesome thing about, I think, Practical Mystics. For me, I just want to say I'm honored to be part of a team. It feels like I've been alone in the desert for 40 years. And finally, just to have like-minded tribe associates. And I had the pleasure of reading several of the mystics too. So they're all the real deal, and they're all chimed in to ascend. And one of the things I love about your approach is that it's not guru based. It's this tag team approach.
Yeah. Pass the baton. Let's go. Let's learn it all from everyone, including we have Sunday is a dedicated community day because, we draw in a bunch of amazingly conscious wizards and angels and beings of light and aliens and whatnot. So, I want to learn from everybody. I mean, why not?
I think that's the best. And I find too, it's like, I don't know, you probably noticed this, but like when spirit is communicating, it communicates through many, not one.
Yeah. Yes.
And so like, if you've ever been in like these share circles or whatever, it's like one person will try to say something and 3 people will be like, huh? And then like 4 people down, this person actually finishes it for this person that didn't get it. And like, yeah. So spirit is multi-dimensional and multifaceted. So this approach is amazing. The other thing that's cool is the Sunday thing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that's the amplification of the group. When a group comes together with a shared intention for learning and growth and consciousness, when you have teachers coming together with that same intention, there's an enormous amplification of the energies and the growth.
100%. And I'm happy that you're providing kind of a Sunday service because, Sunday is named after the sun, which is the heart, right? So, and this all came from, the ancient days where where a planet ruled each day of the week. But, I have found, church was an obligation, to go to. And I find that society is really hurting not having this conscious community anymore.
Yeah.
Like, sure, the church has expired in the age of Pisces, but we do want a group. And you want a group where everyone wants to be there, not that their grandma and their mom forced them to go. That vibe was kind of icky. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And what do you do on Sundays? Like more practically?
Well, so we have this wonderful practitioner named Janie, and she does something called a community spotlight. So she comes in and she starts a conscious conversation within the community. But we also take the barrier off of the community posting on their own. You know, that setting in groups that you can set where only certain people can post in a heartbeat, and the other ones have to be approved. So we totally take that off. So anyone can post and share their insights and share their learnings and their teachings. And we do provide a little bit of structure around it because we want to hear both the humanness and the consciousness. Yeah. So Sunday is really about the community. Hearing from the community.
That's amazing. And that's a brilliant idea, by the way, turning on and off that feature.
Yeah.
Seriously, because we do a lot of policing. Well, tell us how our viewers in Namaste Today Club and the people who watch my show, how can they be a part of this? I know you have a special offer for them.
Yeah, I decided to do a special offer for you guys. So it's good through Sunday night. So let's say Sunday night at like, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So right now, the way that it stands is you have to sign up through our website. You have to put down a credit card. You do get a free 21-day trial, but you have to sign up with a credit card. And I know sometimes people just get lazy or they don't jump in even though their intuition is telling them to. So because of that, I have to put in my credit card. I mean, shoot, I do that sometimes too. So I just want to take away any reason to say no to this. And basically, if anyone watching this video private messages me, give me your email, and I will put you in the room. And you will have your free 21-day trial, totally risk-free, totally commitment-free. Just show up and play with us and have some fun. I do want your email, though, because we email our people and we let them know the show schedule. And we also have free mini sessions that happen throughout the month. So you want to be looped into that, because we draw from our audience to be our, mini session receiver.
That's awesome. And I'll just go so far as to say that a lot of people have asked me about when and where will I be teaching classes. And when Julie first approached me, I was ecstatic because I was like, oh my God, thank you. You want to have the school? Great. I just want to show up with a podium and a blackboard and do my thing. Because after, getting my astro kicked in my 30s, I'm like, I don't need to organize the whole damn thing anymore. I want to show up. So I told Julie, I'm going to be developing classes with Practical Mystics. So if people want to take classes with me, this is going to be my foundation. This is going to be the school I dedicate my heart to. And the first class I'm working on right now is a North Node class, which is something that Julie requested. And I'm glad she did, because I've been brushing up on North Node spiritual politics. So my first class will be coming out probably in I'm not sure, in a month or so. Depends when okay. But, so for those who want to take class with me, I recommend trying Practical Mystics. Take Julie up on her very generous offer to come in without a credit card, no commitment. And if nothing else, feel the vibe. Mercury goes retrograde next Friday. So this is a perfect time to kind of sign up for something or try something out, because Mercury retrograde is all about reflecting. And this one is going to be about letting go of the old ego and building the new. And if you're going to do that, you should have a team of Practical Mystics to help you.
I always find, too, that a little Mercury retrograde nest, whether you do your own ritual to provide that nest or you have a conscious community to nest up with, it always kind of provides a buffer. So if you want to try out PMTV as your nest, as your Mercury retrograde nest, come on board and we'll have some fun.
And as you guys can tell, Julie is just a bright, beautiful light. Julie, always an honor to work with you.
Same with you, Christopher. I love you so much.
We have a wondrous journey in front of us. Everything up until now was just preparation. How about that? And I thought, thank God. Whew, I was getting nervous there. So everyone, reach out to Julie. And Julie, thank you for coming on and bringing light to my show. I'm so grateful.
Oh, thanks for having me, Christopher. I love you.
Love you too. Happy New Moon. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy Love Fest Day.
Yes. Happy.
Joy, joy, joy.
Bye.
Ciao, honey. Bye. That was awesome, eh? Isn't it great to see two people in their hearts on camera together? That's one thing I love about Julie, is she always brings the heart. I mean, she is Leo bright. And I think that she has a Libra rising. We didn't talk about that, but the Libra rising always keeps you from having to wear sunglasses. Like, she knows exactly how much photons to put out and not put out. Like, she's very good at that. So before I let you go, I want to talk about Love Fest Day. Sunday is Love Fest Day. And if you guys are new to what Love Fest is, this is something I started from doing horoscopes 7 days a week. I noticed very early on doing horoscope 5 days a week, doing horoscopes, is that when the moon crosses Venus, our heart naturally opens. It's just an astrological event. And in my opinion, it's kind of like God's way of giving us a rainbow once a month, just to be reminded that everything's okay, that we're going to be okay and whatnot. So I'll tell you a little story here. For a long time, I've been wanting to create love festivals. This has been one of my ambitions for a long time. I felt like we need a festival to amp up the love on earth. That's what I've always felt. And it was one of those ambitions that was just a long-term goal. I showed up in a few cities and did little love fests. It was very kind of quaint, but I'm a one-man band. And one of the things I have learned, really to compliment Julie, is when I started out, I was kind of on that guru path. Not because I wanted to be. I wanted to work with a team of people. I just couldn't find my tribe, to be honest with you. And long story short, I was told last fall by my guides, you got to move to Denver. You got to move to Denver. And my family was already here. And when I got psychic readings and stuff, the psychics would say, your tribe is in Denver, like your tribe. Well, long story short, I ended up going to a yoga class, which was taught by one of our viewers. So one of my viewers reached out to me and said, hey, you're in Denver now? I teach yoga in Denver. And her and I started hanging out with yoga. Long story short, she wanted to create a oneness movement. I wanted to create a love fest movement. And together we became one. So we have created Oneness.Care's Love Fest Days. Now, actually, the movement is a oneness movement. And you might go, what is that? Okay. The events are Love Fest. So we hold Love Fest events to amp up the love for our oneness movement. And the theory is, very quickly, is that the world has become highly fractured. Have you noticed? It's like we got Fox and we got NBC, we got Republican, we got Democrat, we got blacks, we got whites, we got everything has been completely separated. And I spoke about this with Julie just now, as one of the symptoms of the age of Pisces. Now, it's my theory that we have become fractioned in the outer world because we are fractioned in the inner world. Because we have allowed our ego and our thoughts and our emotions and all these things to be compartmentalized. Because we live only in our mind, or live only in our ego, or live only in different parts of ourselves. Because we have been damaged by others, because we have been abused, because we have had our hearts broken, we have been fractioned on the inside. We have come apart within us. And so because we are broken apart, we are broken in fraction within, we, of course, see our outer reality the same way. And we see that as normal. We see that as the way things must be in the real world. And that's not true. I believe the world is fractioned in the outer world because we are fractioned in the inner world. So Melissa Walker, isn't that amazing? Her name is Walker. I'm always about light walkers. Melissa is an actual light walker. Okay. Come together with a bunch of other wonderful people. We have a speaker named John coming. We are creating our first Love Fest festival here in Denver, but it will be simulcast over right here at namastetoday.club. We'll also put it on our page and whatnot. The goal of this is basically a community of coming together, much like what Julie is doing on a weekly basis with her Practical Mystics. We're doing this on a monthly basis. This is a monthly get-together. We're starting locally in Denver, but we're including people online. We do plan to tour to other cities as cities host us. So if you are out there and you want to sponsor us to come, let's talk, okay? We believe it's time to help people unite their light inside their heart. And that's the focus of this festival and this entire thing. In fact, here are our points, our values. Our first value is eliminating the false paradigm of separation. So we want to help end people feeling as separate to each other. And our strategy is to help you feel more whole inside of you. And so Melissa is going to do some body movements, some tapping things. She has like almost an hour presentation. And literally you can, show up in front of your camera to do movement. Okay, so this isn't a sit down and watch thing. This is a take part. You're going to learn a lot of effective techniques. Melissa's brilliant. She has all sorts of yoga behind her, all sorts of Tai Chi training. I mean, the woman is constantly in training. She's constantly flying around and learning more techniques, and she integrates them. So we're going to, using movement, discuss how to get your body feeling together. Then I'm going to go on stage and talk about the 7 steps to inner peace, which is based on my 11 steps to serious joy. And I'm going to talk about the conscious fractioning that we make inside of ourselves and how to unite those states of awareness into our united states of awareness. And then we have this wonderful man named John. I don't have his last name handy. I'm so sorry. John's amazing. John is a Virgo that basically lives on a mountain and meditates. Right there, I already loved him. Just a Virgo that lives on a mountain and meditates, okay? But John has a bliss technique. So he has a technique that allows you to come into your inner bliss. And that's what we're going to be doing to help people eliminate the false paradigm of separation. Once we've done that, we want to activate global consciousness. And we want to start talking to people who are feeling whole about holistic solutions. We're not about politics. We're about policy. We don't care what party you join. We want to talk about the policies and what needs to happen for the world to come together. And we want to hear from the audience and the people watching what our thoughts are. Just like I spoke with Julie, the answers come from all of us, not one of us. God uses all of us as instruments in this orchestra. We want to create a safe space once a month to acknowledge and nurture the do-gooders. And that's one of the things we've noticed is that people like myself and Melissa and Julie and other people, we've been on the desert on a horse with no name. We have been on our own with no support. And that's one of the things we want to do. We want to support the people who are doing good. The do-gooders very rarely have support. So supporting the do-gooders is a big part of our intention. We want to harness the power of our group sharing and togetherness to empower a sense of personal agency that leads to positive action. So we basically want to bring the group's power into different actions and causes. And no, we don't know what the causes are. No, we don't know what the actions are. That's pulling the cart pulling the horse. Our first job is to get that horse feeling amazing. Then we'll talk about what cart we want to pull. But we do want to turn this into an activist campaign where if the group identifies certain things that we feel are important that we should act on, then absolutely uniting the light to a focused concentration. And then standing in community basically is one of the last big points. I mean, we feel like to fulfill the fundamental emotional and spiritual needs of others, to be happy and healthy and feel safe, we have to create a sense of community, of spiritual community. And this is a community that is, in person. This is going to be in Denver, but again, in other cities. And I think the in-person part is great. I love working on the internet. I love broadcasting, but I want to give hugs. I want to see people. I want to, feel their vibration, and I want to feel the vibration of 100 light workers in the same room. I mean, if you guys have ever done that, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's a spiritual high, literally. And then we also want to constantly give people practices they can take home, like simple movements and spiritual shifts and things like that. We want to give you the tools to stay in your heart and stay united in yourself when you're not at one of our love festivals, so that it doesn't die out and you show up starving. So you have your own tools to continue your own light. So that said, I invite you all to be there, whether it's physical or virtual. If it's physical, we are having this at the Mercury Cafe in Denver, which, by the way, Mercury Cafe, coolest place I've ever seen. Mercury Cafe is run by this woman who's been doing it for years. She's a Libra. She's a hippie. She's an astrologer. She's got pictures of Jupiter and all kinds of planets on the walls, and she does it with taste. It looks wonderful. I mean, a lot of times things get hokey when you go down that path. Mercury Cafe is organic food. It is organic service, the perfect energy to launch this. So I want to say officially thank you to Madeline and the Mercury Cafe for hosting us. She's donating this space. It will be at the Mercury Cafe this Sunday on Love Fest Day. Now, here's the story I was going to tell you. When we set out to do this Love Fest, we actually went to Madeline and Mercury Cafe and we were like, what dates can you have? And Madeline gave us the dates that were possible. Only later did I find out it was actually the real Love Fest day. Not only that, but when the moon crosses Venus at the most intense time, that's when I go on stage. Like, it was just like one of those moments of like, oh my God, there is such a bigger plan here in the works. It really made me feel wonderful. So we will actually be having Love Fest Day on Love Fest Day. So I think we're going to be feeling the love. It's Oneness at 1 p.m. Okay, if you want to check out more about it, the website is oneness.care. But we are asking people to purchase a ticket. This is really a donation. Reason being, this does cost money. We have our own money into it right now in pure faith paying forward. But you can get a ticket at eventbrite.com. Just search for Love Fest tickets, okay? And even if you plan to watch and you are abundant, buy a ticket. Please help the cause. You've just heard what we're trying to do here. We are a nonprofit organization. We are here to bring love and light and promote inner and outer oneness to the world. And I would love for you to join our cause. I hope I can see you there. All right, friends. Well, it's been another Friday, and it's been a great Friday. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful weekend. Happy Lightcast Day tomorrow. Happy Love Fest Day on Sunday. And I'm not sure when my next Friday Live will be, but I do have amazing people like Julie Day who are going to be joining me soon. So I'm excited to introduce you to a lot of other amazing light walkers in the future. Stay in the light. Remember, I love you, and to live, love, be.